Hello there and a pleasant welcome to Star Television Network Channel 21, and I am Sienna Wright with the national news. First, the headlines. Me Against Poverty, a non-profit making organization registered in the United States of America, has on Friday, 7th June 2019, donated school items to the Yonibana Secondary School in the Tonkolili district.
From Bishop Johnson graduate at the same time, the ones at the private school, they are more better than the students from Bishop Johnson because they had more exposure. And when they get to the interview desk and they ask them questions.
Maristop Sierra Leone, in collaboration with its partners, has on Monday, 10th June, launched the second edition of the Raining Season Cover Close 2019 promo.
Teenage pregnancy has been identified as the second most prevalent child abuse practice.
The commanding officer, Joint Medical Unit at the 34 Military Hospital, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Stephen Savali, has said that Infection Prevention and Control (IPC) plays a critical role in reducing the infection rate at the hospital setting.
Weeks ago, we commemorated the World Malaria Day. We have been working together to conduct simulations on response to Ebola epidemic and other infectious diseases.
All this, including sports, will be part of the bulletin. It's now time for the news in detail with me, Sienna Wright. Me Against Poverty, a non-profit making organization registered in the United States of America that seeks to support the promotion of education for economically challenged schools, has on Friday, 7th June 2019, donated school items to the Yonibana Secondary School in the Tonkolili district and 10 desktop computers to the Bishop Johnson Memorial Secondary School in Freetown. The donation, according to the Executive Director, Me Against Poverty, Bresford Coker, is aimed at enhancing the quality of education. Compiled by Abdurrahman Kamar.
Giving an overview of the organization, the Executive Director, Me Against Poverty, Beresford Coker, underscored the importance of education through information, communication and technology that is driving the development growth trajectory. He recalled that MAP was registered as a non-profit organization in the United States of America with the aim to break the cycle of poverty for underdeserved Sierra Leonean communities through education, empowerment, and recognizing the challenges in the educational sector. Beresford Coker further noted that MAP has decided to work with schools in the western area of Freetown to introduce computer studies in the school's curriculum to ensure that students will acquire and develop basic computer skills that is required in today's highly technological and competitive job market.
We need to work together. Let's have a heart of giving as a community. There's a lot of challenge within this community, and the reason why we selected Bishop Johnson is because it's one of the schools that are easily forgotten. There are schools out there that we call the top schools or the name brand school, like Annie Walsh, right? Grammar School, Convent, Prince of Wales. Most of the time, people don't talk about Bishop Johnson. They're the forgotten schools. It shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be that way, because for me, every child is my child. And you guys that are working, please work with these students so that at the end of the day, they can be productive students in the community. Give them all you have. We're donating these computers not because we have money, but because we have the love for the students so that they can develop the required skill necessary to be competitive in the job market. It is essential that they have computer skills. Donating the computer is not the end of the story. My expectation and the expectation of our organization is that you guys have a strategic plan to sustain this so that you have tutors, you have a plan in place to teach the students how to utilize these computers. They need to know how to turn on the computer, they need to know how to use Microsoft Office, they need to know how to create a file, how to save a file, how to copy and paste, all of these basic things. It's only when you have these skills that they're going to be competitive. If there are other schools out there, like private schools, they're teaching them things like this. So guess what? When those students graduate from those private schools and these students from Bishop Johnson graduate at the same time, the ones at the private school, they are more better than the students from Bishop Johnson because they had more exposure. And when they get to the interview desk and they ask them questions, they're not going to respond like the other students, and they're going to hire those students. We need to change the narrative. Everybody needs to be at equal footing.
The principal for the Yonibana Secondary School, Joseph Conte, and the Bishop Johnson Memorial Secondary School, Joshua T.C. Kolka, commended the executive director, Me Against Poverty, Beresford Coker, for the gesture and described as timely the donation of school items to Yonibana Secondary School and 10 desktop computers to the Bishop Johnson Memorial Secondary School, and assured of the school's continued collaboration.
Me Against Poverty is an organization from the United States of America. Over the years, they have been helping this school, helping students with school fees, learning materials. But since the government is paying for every child here, we've decided to divert that funds to providing learning materials. And today they have donated bags, books, pens, calculators, and other things. That will help the student to learn. Because some of them cannot afford, they don't have even the bag to put those materials, to put their materials, learning materials. They cannot afford it. And they're providing those things that will go a long way of helping the parents.
This is a great gesture that has been done by Me Against Poverty for the enhancement of education, especially in technology in Sierra Leone.
Maristope Sierra Leone, in collaboration with its partners, has on Monday, 10th June, launched the second edition of the rainy season Cover Close 2019 promo. The promo, which targets women and girls with quality, personalized and confidential services of choice, are free of user fees between Monday, 10th June to Saturday, 16th June 2019, marking the African Child's Day, with a call to government to lift the barriers preventing women and girls from accessing contraception and empower them with information they need to choose the method that is right for them. Here is the highlight.
As we know, teenage pregnancy is not an uncommon phenomenon. What makes teenage pregnancy to become a crisis is when the rate is abnormal, is higher than accepted norms compared to sane or saner societies or saner climates. Teenage pregnancy has been identified as the second most prevalent child abuse practice by members of the recent Action Research for Evidence policy making conducted by UNICEF in Sierra Leone in 2009. At the same time, Sierra Leone out-of-school study identified high teenage pregnancy rates amongst primary and secondary school children as a strong contributing factor to why school-age children drop out of school.
We realized that about 15% of young Sierra Leoneans girls have sexual intercourse before 15 years of age. Adolescent pregnancies are among the top 10 countries in the world, which you agree is not really a good situations for development. And about 28% of adolescent women that are aged between 15 and 19 years are already mothers, or they are pregnant, or they are pregnant already. 44% of those girls are married under 18 years of age. About 44% of pregnancy of those girls to below 20 are lost after 7 months of gestation or babies. So quite a number of those pregnancies are lost either to unsafe abortion, unsafe procedures, or some infections, or not very pleasant situations like that.
The commanding officer, Joint Medical Units at the 34 Military Hospital, Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Stephen Savali, has said that Infection Prevention and Control (IPC) plays a critical role in reducing the infection rates at the hospital setting. He made this disclosure while launching the Alcoholic-Based Hand Rub project in partnership with the Ministry of Health and Sanitation, Center for Disease Prevention and Control, and the World Health Organization at the 34 Military Hospital on Thursday, 6 June 2019. Here is the highlight.
Yes, I particularly want to appreciate the Ministry of Health. This is one of many things we have been collaborating on. A few weeks ago, we commemorated the World Malaria Day. We have been working together to conduct simulations on response to Ebola epidemic and other infectious diseases, for example. And generally, I think the Ministry of Health has been quite supportive to the Ministry of Defense, particularly the Joint Medical Unit. I really want to appreciate the Ministry of Health and the Chief Medical Officer for this achievement. And we have other wonderful partners. Of course, this was not achieved by Ministry of Health alone. Technical support has been provided by the World Health Organization. And particularly, Hannah Maruta has been here. She is more like a staff now here. Thank you very much for your support. And I hope the WHO representative will also convey our appreciation. We have also achieved a lot and moving towards the Deputy Minister of Defense agenda to see that the President's vision for the health sector is achieved. That is strengthen the health system, develop infrastructure within the health system, get equipment and develop the human resource base. And this is quite in line with the support that we have been receiving from the Deputy Minister of Defense.
The manifesto of this country, which is put together by no other person but the President, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, after free quality education, we jumped onto developing healthcare in this country. And then I went forward, to talk to my colleague yesterday that the military is just a microcosm of the civil society. And what I meant by that is developing 34 is like developing this country. So you see, looking at again the conversation that really went on yesterday, I asked the medical doctor, what is your concept of this development? At 34. Then he said, there are 4 issues. I want to do refurbishing, I want to do new buildings, I want to do new human resource, I want to do new specialization. Then in all of this, I think he wrapped up with training. But what I see as lubricant for all of these factors, gentlemen and ladies, is doing this job with this kind of sanitizer. You see, when Ebola came here, we struggled. I was almost attached to the UN to really write SOP that soldiers will rely on to do a job that they never trained for. So that happened that time.
Our fight against the dreaded diseases The notion, and I'll tell you where we are leading. The global health security agenda, one of the key components is medical countermeasures working with the military and the police. And I'll tell you this categorically. Sierra Leone is showing the world how to work, we as the civil unit working with the military. We are showing the world that it can be done. And this is the example that we are setting here. We can work with the military 100%. We want to thank all of you who made that a possibility, and let us continue to show the world that we can lead in so many areas. And this is one area that in the global health security agenda, we in Sierra Leone, we are leading. Let us be proud of ourselves. When that happens, in terms of the global health security agenda, a component is the antimicrobial resistance. Out of that, we saw the need, all of us saw the need that if we cannot prevent infections within our hospitals, then it becomes a death trap for our health workers. No one likes going to a profession, at the end of the day, the profession takes your life.
And now to round up the news sports. So let's join our sports correspondent, Hilton John, for what's happening in the sporting world.
Hello everyone, welcome for today's sporting news. We start to look at the scene. The Anti-Corruption Commission has appealed on the decision given by Justice Vin Jr. in the case between Aisha Yuansin and Christopher Kamara in the High Court of Sierra Leone. It could be recalled that these two personalities were acquitted and discharged by Justice Vin Jr. on alleged corruption by the Anti-Corruption. According to the head of communication in the Anti-Corruption, who is Patrick Sandy, he explained more to Star Sports about the decision of the ACC to appeal on the judgment by Justice Vin Jr.
Well, the Anti-Corruption Commission, since 6th June 2019, has filed a 10 grounds appeal at the Appeals Court of Sierra Leone against the judgment delivered by Honorable Justice Reginald Feng Jr. in the matter the State versus Aisha Yuansin and Christopher Kamara. The appeal is seeking for an interpretation of evidential issues that are contained in the offense of misappropriation of public funds. And so we want another level of the court, which is an appellate court, to look at it. So it's on the basis of that, having perused the judgment, that we believe that we have to file in this appeal.
So in other words, you're not satisfied with the legal battle you lose?
Well, it is not about legal battle losing or winning. At this stage, what we believe as a commission is that we adhere to the rule of law and the due process, and appeal is part of the due process. And as such, once we have seen the judgment, if the judgment has been on other issues, I am going to believe, yes, we may not have proceeded to court or to the appeals court. But then, at even the time the judgment was delivered, our position was that we accepted it, but that we were going to also look at it and then inform the public about our next steps. And so, having looked at it and the areas which we believe that we needed to file an appeal against is that we have done.
Will you set Aisha Yuansin aside again and Christopher Kamara?
Not necessarily. That
Why?
was made very explicit in our press release. The reason is that we have considered the matter to have been completed at the Court of Appeal, at the High Court. And so what we are seeking for is just an interpretation, of which we have a right to do. So, and we want also football to continue going on well in this country.
Will you win the case in the appeals court as an ACC?
Well, definitely we have filed the appeal with a view that yes, we will get the interpretation we want to believe we will Okay.
Don't you think
As
that
to
you are
what it
fighting a
means
losing
by
battle?
misappropriation of public funds.
Don't you think that you are still fighting a losing battle?
We don't think so at all. My brother, this is about the law, it's about interpretation, and it is also the available opportunity for the ACC to use.
Another trial for Aisha Yuantin and Christopher Kamara. This time is appeals courts. Let's see what the outcome will bring despite no setting aside from the anti-corruption against these two personalities. In the ongoing FIFA's Women's World Cup in France, Canada secured 1-0 victory against Cameroon. Here is the highlight of the match.
We're at the Stade de la Mosson in Montpellier for the first match in Group E as Canada take on Cameroon. Forward by Lawrence. Sinclair stretching and not quite stretching enough to get a touch to guide it past Gondom. Chapman. 4 players again lurking on the edge of the 6-yard box. Becky to take. Buchanan! You cannot stop her scoring from set pieces. Kanisha Buchanan. Just a 4th goal in an 89th appearance. Canada lead Cameroon by a goal to 0.
What's a good start coming up there from Canada in the ongoing Women's World Cup by FIFA in France. Unfortunately, Sierra Leone is not part of the teams or country that are competing in this year's competition. What a pity.
Thank you very much, Hilton, for that sporting update. Well, viewers, that's all we have for you here in our news file for the hour on Star Television Network, Channel 21. I am Sienna Wright. Thanks for watching, and do stay with us if you can.